Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Whitehall City Council meeting of June 2nd, 2020. Would everybody please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Aug, would you please call roll?
Cantor,
Present.
Heck,
Present.
Morrison, Bailey, Rodriguez,
Present.
Elmore, Coniston,
Present.
President Potter.
Present.
Mr. President, I'd like to introduce a motion to excuse the absent members.
Second.
There's been a motion by Mr. Rodriguez, a second by Ms. Heck, to excuse the absent members. Ms. Aug, would you please call roll?
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Coniston,
Yes.
Thank you. The members have been excused. At this time, we have the approval of the minutes of the May 19, 2020 agenda and regular meeting minutes, as well as the May 26th special emergency agenda and meeting minutes.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. I've had a motion by Ms. Coniston, second by Mr. Cantor, for the approval of the May 19, 2020 and the May 26th minutes. Ms. Aug, please call roll.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
Thank you. The minutes have been approved. We are now at our first poll public of the evening, and as held true with our last meetings that have been live streamed with folks not joining us, we have had no submissions for poll public this evening. We do welcome them, but there are none this evening. That brings us now to our standing committee reports. Administration and Financial Management, Chairperson Bailey. I do know his committee met on the 26th, and they'll meet again next week, shortly after 6:30. Community and Elder Advocacy. I know that Chairperson Elmore and her committee met on the 26th as well, and they will meet again. Their minutes are on file, and they'll meet again next Tuesday. Community Standards and Enforcement, Chairperson Rodriguez.
You can take mine. Community Standards and Enforcement met last Tuesday. Our minutes are on file. We'll meet again next Tuesday sometime after 6:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Economic Development, Chairperson Morrison. His committee also met on the 26th, and their minutes are on file, and they will also be meeting next week shortly after 6:30. Infrastructure, Maintenance, and Services, Chairperson Heck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Infrastructure, Maintenance, and Services met last week. Our minutes are on file. We have no drafts or pending legislation.
Thank you. Public Safety, Chairperson Coniston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Safety met last week. Our minutes are on file, and we'll meet again in the back sometime after 6:30 next Tuesday.
Actually, we'll be out front.
Oh, up front. I always
Well,
say
that's right.
I know, habits.
that. It's habit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, thank you. Parks and Recreation, Chairperson Cantor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Parks and Recreation also met last week. Our minutes are on file. We'll meet right here again next week in front.
Thank you. That now brings us to our officials' reports. Mayor Kim Maggard.
Good evening, Council. I would like to give a brief report regarding flooding mitigation in the city of Whitehall. The city is actively working with different entities in order to increase partnership, I should say financial partnership in this program. We know that it is not capable of the city to foot this 100% financially, so we are actively engaging and working on partnerships with other entities, as well as working to examine and to create parameters for the program, what it would cover, how much it would cover, vendors as well, when you get into plumbing aspects, and contracts as well with vendors. So it's not as easy as just slapping something on paper. There's a lot of behind the scenes work, and we're still working on that, and we're dedicated to helping citizens find solutions for the problems and the flooding that have happened the last 2 times in Whitehall. It's imperative that we continue to do this, to work on a program, because with the cyclical changes now in the weather that's becoming the norm, regarding increased rainfall in less than 24 hours, it's imperative that we come and bring something to the public that they can, and that we can help support them in their goal to have dry basements and to have a healthier interaction with their home during these torrential rains. So thank you very much.
Mayor,
Yes.
I would just like to comment. I really appreciate the tact you're taking with this. Obviously, everyone is very anxious to get something done sooner rather than later, and so it's really a fine line to use all the resources available to you and the city to get the maximum financial benefit for our residents.
Right.
And I think that's the important thing that everybody needs to remember, that the administration is very anxious to get that done, but want to do it right the first time and not woulda, coulda, shoulda after the fact.
Yes, absolutely. So we're trying, like you said, to get it right. I would also like to give everyone an update on the food program. The city has partnered with World Central Kitchen out of New York, and also with Scotty's Cafe near Bexley on East Broad Street. We have worked, I believe we're now in our 8th week of passing out dinners to whoever who needs it. And this is the last week that the city will be helping with this endeavor. And we are at New Life Church on Yearling Road. And even though it's supposed to be from 5 to 6, some people do start coming at 4:30, and that's okay. That's okay. So I just want to remind everybody who's listening out there that we're still providing the meals through the end of the week this Friday. So please come. All are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. City Attorney Michael Bivens is not with us this evening. City Auditor Dan Miller is not with us this evening. Director of Development and Public Service Zach Woodruff is with us, but not physically right this moment, so I would like to reserve the opportunity for him to report if he's got something to share with us, which I believe he does. So we will circle back to him. Director of Public Service Van Gregg is not with us this evening, nor is our Treasurer Steve Quinzel. The following officials' reports have been filed in the council office since the last meeting, and that would include the Treasurer's Investment Report for April 2020, the Treasurer's Activity by Fund Report for April 2020, the Treasurer's Fund Reconciliation Report for April 2020, and finally, the Mayor's Report to Council for February and March of 2020. Communications, petitions, and claims. We have one item listed this evening, and that is the agenda for the June 4th, 2020 meeting of the Planning Commission. At this time, I'll ask Ms. Aug to please call roll as to whether each member of council was given a copy of each item of legislation listed on the agenda prior to the meeting, and including any and all add-on legislation, and not only list hold true for council members here with us this evening, but of the council members that are not here, that they have also received their legislation.
Cantor,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
Thank you. Third reading, we have got no legislation this evening. Under second reading, we have got ordinance 41-2020, which we read by title only, authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver a purchase and sale agreement and other appropriate documents on behalf of the city to sell approximately 0.2 acres of parcels 090-005-410 and 090-001-974 to Continental Real Estate or their designee. Again, title only. Next, we have ordinance 43-2020, again, title only, and this will have a public hearing on July 7th. Amending the zoning map attached to Chapter 1122 of the 1970 Codified Ordinances of the City of Whitehall, Ohio, and subsequently amended, changing the zoning on property located on East Broad Street, parcel number 090-008-249, from Exceptional Use District EU to General Commerce District, GCD, property owned by Office City Incorporated. The last item we have under third reading, which will also be title only, is Resolution 14, 2020, and it reads, appointing a member to the Board of Directors of the Jefferson Township Whitehall Joint Economic Development District. Under first reading, we have one ordinance this evening, which will be read by title only, and we'll have a public hearing on July 7th, 2020, amending the zoning map attached to Chapter 1122 of the 1970 Codified Ordinances of the City of Whitehall, Ohio, and subsequently amending, allowing a special permit under 1123-10C1 to allow Armstrong Development to operate a drive-in window and drive-through facilities on a property located at 4720 East Main Street, property owned by Sugar Properties, LLC. That brings us to our second poll public, and as in the first poll public, we have no comments to share with us. Community Date Board. Karen, you had 25 minutes.
I know, you said I have 20, I'll just take it at the end.
Okay. Fair enough. Anything else, or anything for, I should say, Community Date Board?
Not yet, soon.
Not yet, okay.
Very
Here's
soon.
hoping.
Very soon.
Very good. At this point, we'll poll council. Mr. Cantor?
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. I was hoping Mr. Woodruff was in here as well, so I want to thank everybody that's watching. I want to thank the mayor for explaining the homeowner flooding mitigation account that we currently have going. I know there's been questions. I know the administration would not come to council with something that you just want to throw at us and throw it up against the wall to see if it'll stick. And I greatly appreciate you doing this for our homeowners. Hopefully we can get this done really soon, and I know council's looking forward to this. It's a very good program. Like I said the last time, I think we're the only suburb that has a program such as this. So I'm looking forward to it. So 2020 has been a tough year so far. It's been a difficult year. Wake up the other morning, everything's good. By the end of the day, there's an individual that was murdered by a police officer. It's a horrible thing. I see it on video, and it's very disturbing. It's very heartbreaking. Kind of wonder how a person can do something like this to another person. And the other day I saw something that said we must learn to live together as brothers, or we will perish as fools. And that was quoted by the Reverend Dr. King, Martin Luther King. I feel very sad for Mr. Floyd's family. And it's a horrible thing. I know a lot of police officers, and I don't know any bad police officers. I know we have a very good police department here in this city. They have a very, very tough job to do. And I stand behind our Whitehall PD 100%. So that's basically all that I have to say. And thank you again, Mayor. Hi, girls. Daddy loves you.
Thank you, Mr. Cantor. Ms. Heck?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, everybody that is tuning in and watching us today. Thank you, Mayor, for the update. That was appreciative. I just hope everybody has a good day and stay safe.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for everyone who's watching. So these last few months have just been tough, It's just been one thing after the other. So I saw something today that I thought, you know what, I'm going to share this. Like it or not, I'm going to share it. A minister decided that a visual demonstration would add emphasis to his Sunday sermon. 4 worms were placed in 4 separate jars. The first worm was put in a container of alcohol. The second worm was put into a container of cigarette smoke. The third worm was put into a container of chocolate syrup. The fourth worm was put into a container of good, clean soil. At the conclusion of the sermon, the minister reported the following results. The first worm in alcohol, dead. The second worm in cigarette smoke, dead. Third worm in chocolate syrup, dead. Fourth worm in good, clean soil, alive. So the minister asked the congregation, so my friends, what did you learn from this demonstration? Maxine, sitting in the back, quickly raised her hand and said, as long as you drink, smoke, and eat chocolate, you won't have worms. That made my day a little bit.
Ba-boom-boom.
We needed a laugh.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
just a little levity for a change, so. That's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Good one.
And finally, Ms. Coniston.
And you said I had 25
Oh,
minutes.
oh.
So,
2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
2.5.
you know what, the last year, I want to say, has been rough. There's been a lot of negativity, there's been a lot of hatred, and even longer than a year. Obviously, this has been going on for a long time, and history seems to repeat itself, and I don't know why. You know, here we are, we're the great melting pot, and yet we're not acting like it. And it is just, it's gotten to me lately, and I'm usually the most upbeat person in the world, but I think everybody knows my family, and I post quite regularly pictures of my beautiful grandchildren, and I think that anybody that knows me and that has seen them has noticed that there's a bit of a difference between them. Both absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous children, but there's definitely going to be one that I'm going to worry about more than the other, and I shouldn't have to. But her parents went to another country, and on their way back they were detained. Why were they detained? Because of the color of his skin, because his name, and yet my daughter was not. That is wrong. That is wrong on so many accounts, and it just saddens me. It sickens me. It makes me mad. It makes me want to holler. What has been going on here in the last few days, you know what? I commend these people for protesting, but by gosh, protest the right way. Let's stop damaging. We're damaging our own city. They're damaging their own city. And it is not helping anything. Do things the right way. A long time ago, and I'm kind of going back to the day, and again, I think a lot of you know that I am Jewish also. So talk about that poor child being a Jewish, Muslim, black, biracial child. She's got everything kind of thrown at her, but by gosh, she's strong, and we're going to make her strong. But I remember when my son was 4 years old, and we were in Children's Palace. Okay, I'm aging myself here. And one of the things that he really liked were those little Matchbox cars. So we're down the aisle, and I said, you can pick out whatever Matchbox car you want. You know, they were like 69 cents back then. And he happens upon another little boy that's in the aisle, and it's an African-American couple, and all of us are talking. And my son and him are getting along, and they're sharing their different cars and the reason that they're going to get them. And my son goes ahead and he pulls out, Mom, can I get this one? And it's a little, okay, you're going to laugh about this, it's a little pink fire truck. No, it wasn't a fire truck, it was an ice cream truck. And I said to him, are you sure you want this pink ice cream truck? And he said, yes. And I said, well, why is that? He goes, well, I like ice cream, and I like pink. Fair enough. And then he looked at the little black boy, and he goes, you're black, and I really like black, and I'm white, and I really like white. So I looked at the parents, and I'm a little afraid, I'm a little appalled, I'm not sure. And they looked at me, and they said to me, we commend you. You are raising such a good child. What he just did here is he said, I see you, I hear you, and I love you. And I looked at those parents, and I didn't even know what to say. We ended up embracing that day people I didn't even know for just that encounter. And I see all this negativity right now on social media, and I know that I shouldn't be looking at it. Everybody here told me don't look at any of this. Communicate with one another. If you don't understand something, ask the question. Find out the proper things and the proper ways of saying things to one another. Just because somebody says something that somebody disagrees with, explain to them why you disagreed with it. There's a whole lot that can be accomplished and fixed if just communicated. So I'm going to leave everybody tonight. I'm going to not go to 25 minutes, but if I can say one thing is just please be kind to one another. Thank you.
Beautiful, thank you.
Ms. Constant, thank you very much. Director Woodruff, I held a place for you since you were not in the room.
I appreciate that. There were a number of residents outside that didn't get the memo that the meetings were not open to the public. I appreciate you carving out a little bit of time for me. I did want to just briefly kind of recap a couple points from last week's presentation with SWACO regarding the trash proposals. As I mentioned last week, as Joe Durham mentioned, the city's current trash contract does end at the end of this year. The city, for the third time, so for at least the last 15 years, has looked to SWACO to put together a group of jurisdictions to go out to bid that ultimately results in a larger number of residents that need curbside service, and so therefore we're able to get better pricing. So SWACO has taken the lead on that on behalf of the city. Their legal counsel develops the bid packet. It is published, and they work to solicit as many bids as they can get by companies that are interested. Regardless of whether or not we go to a cart system or we stay with the status quo, residents are going to see an increase in their trash bill. We have not seen an increase in trash in the last 10 years. So the last two contracts, the last two 5-year contracts, kept the price the same. So it is not abnormal that we would see an increase in price after 10 years of the same price. There has been some questions about the cans, the carts. The carts would not be rented. The city would buy them. We would own them. So I've heard from you and from others about in the past local waste or other haulers damaging the cans. If that were to happen, you would call the city. We would repair them. We would replace them. And so when we talked about the fee, the additional fee, it was for families who the $196 wasn't sufficient enough. And so if you needed another one, there would be an additional $2 charge on the bill. And so by going to a cart system, while there would be an increase, the vast majority of residents would see a decrease over if we stayed with the status quo. So it is cheaper for us and for our residents to go to the cart system. So I just wanted to make those points because I feel like those are maybe some of the points that got lost for the general public last week. And given the pandemic and the inability for us to hold a big town hall meeting about this and have everyone come in and answer their questions, we are trying to give as much information as we can to residents in a way that they can absorb the information and be able to understand what we're saying. So I just wanted to make those points this evening. Next week at committee, SWACO will be back to make a presentation during Councilwoman Heck's committee regarding litter and waste diversion and the benefits of the cart system as we look at those things. And then finally, on Monday, I know you all received, your carts. We did give 10 recycling carts and trash containers to 10 additional residents or 1 per, to 10 additional residents to get them to kind of partake in this program, pilot program as well. So again, I appreciate the questions that I've gotten from you all already, and the feedback that we're receiving from the community. So I just wanted to kind of say those things on the record so that, again, over this period of time as we evaluate these 2 options, the public is getting a clear understanding about the benefits to this potential system, and why this wasn't it isn't more expensive to go with the cards. It's not. So we've talked to seniors. We've gotten some pretty good feedback from them on the idea that they don't produce as much trash. So the idea that they would be able to downsize their can and be able to save additional money each month was something that was pretty attractive to the limited number of seniors we've engaged so far.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Director, just one quick question, well, a statement, I guess, I'm not looking for an answer, but obviously this information is out on the city's website, so those folks who've got availability to the internet can do that. And again, I'm not looking for an answer, but will there be a mechanism in place to get this message communicated to folks that do not have access to this?
So we're working on that. That is problematic and terribly expensive. And at a time where we're trying to be cognizant of the city's finances,
Right.
we're trying to strike a balance.
Okay.
We certainly are working. Probably next week, we'll engage the local media once SWACO does their presentation to try to get them to do some information and a story about this as well. So, we will, SWACO will be here next week. It'll be in this room, so it'll be broadcast live on our Facebook. So, with the public meetings that we're now streaming, even committees, the public will be able to hear SWACO next week.
Megan does a really good job answering the questions on our.
Yeah, she's top notch. I mean,
She's very good.
She is very good about staying on top of that and giving people the information, sending them direct messages. In a number of cases, asking, directing people to call me on my cell phone directly when they have questions. And so being able to, again, try to engage as many people in the facts as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And then I would just like to close with, we know we've all, as a society and Americans and a global community, been really faced with some challenges that we just frankly didn't think could get any worse. And then sadly we were disproven on that. And I know we all share the disgust of the events of approximately a week ago. Senseless, the adjectives go on and on. And so we've just got to remember, to Ms. Constance's point, we've got to take care of each other. It's okay to disagree, but you don't need to be disagreeable. Be civil and be caring. We've just got to resonate with that. I truly believe you've got to be positive, because there's just no return in being negative and buying into the negativity that's out there. And unfortunately, social media seems to have a bit of a block on that, or not a block, but a major hand in that, and you just cannot get pulled into that cesspool of negativity, because it just is not healthy for us. So we've got to emerge stronger and better as we come out of this and what's facing us at this point. Thank you. At this point, I would accept a motion for adjournment.
Mr. President, move to adjourn.
Second?
I had a motion by Mr. Rodriguez, second by Ms. Coniston.
Cantor,
Yes.
Peck,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Coniston.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you.